Hello, everyone. Welcome to Prime Venture Partners podcast. This is Shripati Acharya, managing partner at Prime. Our guest today is Aniket Jindal, co-founder of Biconomy, one of the most exciting Web3 startups out there. Welcome to the show, Aniket.
Thanks a lot for having me. Super excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's start first with your journey to starting Biconomy. I think you have a very interesting background. So tell us about a brief history of your life, if you will, from wherever you want to start to being a co-founder at Biconomy.
Yeah, I think kind of excited. I never planned to be in crypto, but it just happened, happened to be the right time and the right place, I'd say. But just going back at times, I graduated in 2015. So I did my electrical engineering from PEC Chandigarh. And I come from a family business background. Suppose that I joined my family business. So I joined my family business, and 6 months in the business, I was like, okay, this is probably not for me. Like I was definitely not doing a good job at it. And I used to kind of, regularly think about what I should do next in my life if I'm not liking it. Fortunately, at the same time, one of my friends told me that there's a new master's program you should look at. It's by MIT Sloan and Fudan, Shanghai. And I was like, really, Shanghai? Like, you want me to go to Shanghai in China? But I had been in Hong Kong. I did one of my semesters in Hong Kong. So I was pretty much used to the Chinese culture and also like how things work over there. So yeah, I mean, like things were going on, and I was like, okay, let's make a bold step. So I just, like enrolled in the program, and I got a scholarship as well. So the program was supposed to be in Shanghai and Fudan. So made a bold move. Okay, let's go to Shanghai and see what happens there. Worst case possible, we'll end up doing something there, or maybe I'll just come back to my family business, like again, and accept that this is something I'll be doing. Went to China, very first month, of the program, demonetization happened in India. And I happened to be in a Bitcoin meetup like 2 days ago. When I was in the meetup, I was like, okay, this is all scam. It's something not for me. I don't know whether it's going to work or not. 2 days later, demonetization happens in India. And I was like, is this something, that can actually happen in a country like India, and what impact it's going to have to the economy and the currency aspect? That triggered me into the meetup that I was a part of. And I was like, okay, this is something worth exploring. And I should definitely spend some time in it. So I started off in university, and I, along with who's currently my co-founder, we started like a small blockchain association in the university just to get ourselves involved, what's happening in the ecosystem, and also to spread awareness and also learn like what's happening and how we can kind of leverage from it. Few months, was running the association. Um, all these Chinese big players, Neo, VeChain, Binance, BTCC, etc. They were like part of our association, and we used to talk to them very, very frequently. I was very fortunate to join Binance. So Binance was in one of our meetups back then, and it was a small company of like 15 people, and they were looking for a marketing intern. So I joined the company, and yeah, that was this is history, right? This one hell of a ride. 6 months I was there, everything from marketing to like small operations, and basically learned everything about crypto through Binance only. And in 6 months, the company grew from 15 people to 90 people. So I kind of see the growth happening over there. How different is the crypto ecosystem? Unfortunately, I had to leave Binance because Chinese government cracked down on exchanges back in 17, and I kind of made like a bold decision whether to be in China or come back to India and explore the ecosystem here. Because at that time, Indian ecosystem was kind of non-existent. There wasn't any, I'll say, any project coming out of India. There were like small, one or two scams that happened in India, but in general, it was kind of non-existent. So I came to India in 2018, and I was just exploring the ecosystem. I worked very closely with founders. I worked very closely with some of now, like, one of the best projects in India, including Matic. So I worked very closely with them, not like as an employer, but as an investor as well in like few of the companies. And that is how I got myself involved in the Indian ecosystem. And yeah, I mean, it was 2018, and I was using few applications, like blockchain applications, and I was struggling to use them. I was like, okay, if crypto is so revolutionary, it's gonna affect our life, in a very positive way in the next few years. Then if this is how we're gonna be using it, no one's gonna be using. Like we have to change that. And that was like a starting point of Biconomy, how we can make crypto mainstream, how we can make blockchain applications mainstream, how we can make Web3 mainstream. Like that was how it all got started, and how we Biconomy got started along with the co-founder. So it's been like over 3 years we've been working on it.
So you had a ringside view in the very early days of crypto, and I'm just trying to imagine back in 2018 and even 19, where there's so much negativity, right? In the sense that, okay, there's this really happening, it's not happening. Who are these guys on the lunatic fringe
Yeah.
of crypto? So how did you connect with your co-founders?
So as I said, like Ahmed and I, we were like studying together in the same university. So everything in crypto, we kind of did together from 16. So Sachin, who's a CTO and another co-founder, I met him in one of the events in India, and he's related to Sandeep from Polygon. So we were very close to Sandeep from the inception, like when Polygon was Polygon. So he introduced us to Sachin, and that's how we all got connected. Sachin comes from a technology background and has been working with Makemetric and Samsung. And that was perfect for us. We were more in the business and the research side of things. We needed someone who can implement our ideas. And Sachin was there. And we had kind of the same vision, not talking much about the prices and tokens, maybe like talking much about the technology side of things. And Sachin was also just in for the technology. In fact, like I think he doesn't like to talk anything about pricing, even for Bico as well. So that's how we all got started. And it's been a great 3-year kind of journey and many more to come.
So one of the things I just want to point out there, like taking a bold move, I guess, of jumping in and going to Fudan to actually do that MBA was very pivotal to this entire journey, because he ended up being in the heart of the ecosystem out there. And of course, the time at Binance. So what is, if you can define for our listeners, Biconomy's mission here, and who are its customers and what are the key value propositions there?
Yeah, as I said, as we were getting started, it was a problem that we were facing, that, using blockchain applications. When I say blockchain applications as like decentralized application was really difficult to use. And we wanted to make DeFi applications mainstream. So we position ourselves as a company that is going to be simplifying Web3 adoption, that is going to be making, not simplifying, it's a company that is going to be making Web3 mainstream. And how we kind of doing it is by targeting the developers. We want end users to use an application without even knowing that it's a Web3 application. It's a crypto application. Crypto applications have a lot of bottlenecks from top to bottom. In order to use an application, it might take you like 3 days, honestly, to get used to it, to get used to a wallet, to get used to private keys, to get used to other intricacies involved. So you want to remove all these complexities and onboard like next billion users into the space. And the way that we are doing it is by targeting the developers. So we are making infrastructure tools for developers to simplify the user experience in the applications and give like a Web2 experience in a Web3 application. So that's what we're trying to do.
So definitely the next set of developers are going to be Web2 familiar developers. And the more you can actually make it easier to understand the nuances and code on Web3 with those paradigms in place, the faster it's going to be. So maybe the best way to understand this, Aniket, might be if you could talk to us about a couple of projects which are on Biconomy, maybe use that as an example and illustrate how it works.
Yeah, surely. I think it's a good point you brought up, that next set of developers going to be Web2 developers, who are going to be like giving that kind of user experience to mainstream users using all these applications. But to begin with, any application gets started with a Web3 mindset, like targeting more towards the crypto savvy users. And still now, like we're seeing most of the applications targeting only a particular set of users that are familiar with crypto. And that is where application kind of find the right product market fit. Once it gets adopted in the crypto community, like people try to make it more mainstream, how you can, target them wider audiences. So in terms of applications, the many applications, we have like different category of applications using us. DeFi is one of them. Like that's how like Biconomy got started in terms of getting the right product market fit. So many DeFi applications starting using us. And one of the key pain points at that time when we were starting was the gas fee. So every transaction in crypto includes like a gas cost involved in it. For every transaction, you have to pay certain fees through the transaction. So let's say you use an application. Let's say I'll tell you like you use Spotify, right, in Web2. And for every song, you have to pay something, or for every video on YouTube, you have to pay like a fees. We wouldn't have seen like, millions of users, or in fact, billions of users using all this application. In crypto, for every small interaction within an application, you have to pay certain fees. And this is like one of the problems in the space. Gas is the major one that we were trying to solve. moving forward, other problems including like how do you move assets from one chain to another? There are so many chains coming up. How do you change the RPC codes? So all these intricacies is something that like Biconomy is solving. And applications such as gaming applications, DeFi applications, they wanted end users to have a very slick user experience so that they don't have to like press confirm button all the time. They don't have to worry about the gas fees. They don't have to worry about RPC changes. So this is how like Biconomy comes to the play, and we kind of work with applications.
So just coming on the gas fee. So gas fee is actually really anytime you want to make any change to the state which you're maintaining on the blockchain, I guess there's a gas fee. And so it could be for running a transaction like a smart contract, for transferring tokens, adding tokens, doing any of these changes. So could you just tell a little bit about like how exactly is Biconomy helping reduce it? If you could make it simplified for the listener
here. Yeah. So as you rightly mentioned, like for every interaction within crypto, you need to pay like a gas fees. And application developers, they are very much happy to front that fees, like for the users to make the user experience better. So let's say you're using an application called Zrun. It's a gaming application, one of our customers, where you can buy NFTs and you can like play in some games over there. So without Biconomy, the experience is that you log into the application, you buy Matic from an exchange, you do KYC, etc. You put that Matic into the MetaMask and you move on to Polygon and then use the application. And for every interaction, you have to pay Matic. And so Zrun, like came to us and they're like, this is where they're kind of losing most of the customers, because these 5 steps, like having Matic and paying for the gas fees is like a very bad experience for anyone using the application, right? People want to come to the application, they want to use a game. They don't have to do like all these steps in order to use a game. How we can solve them? And they were like, we are very much happy to give them Matic and fund the gas fee so that they can use an application, very easily. So the product we develop is APIs and SDK that can be integrated into the application itself, so that Zrun is able to pay for the gas fees. So Zrun is like fronting. It's like server cost. Netflix never, ask you for AWS, but Spotify doesn't do that. So it's like a server cost for any application. They're like, okay, we'll fund the gas fees, and this is gonna remove like 5 steps, 6 steps in order to use an application. And that's how we integrated. And they've seen like on an average 30 to 40% increase in users after Biconomy got integrated. So this is how we come into play with the product. Then we started on building other products as well, that how can we make movement from one chain to another easy. That was another kind of a key pain point the applications were facing. So our mindset has been always towards the user experience, how we can make it as simple as possible.
And it's even a little bit more intricate than that, right? I think which Biconomy does under the covers, which is there might also be a timing in terms of optimizing the gas fees, because the gas fee itself is the cost of gas is not constant. It keeps varying over time.
Yeah, I think that is the major issues on chain. And that's why our target customers are not Ethereum customers, because Ethereum, even if application wants to pay for the gas fees, at this current state, it's not economically sustainable for them, because gas fees are super expensive over there. A transaction can cost you up to $100. So we recommend our customers not to use us on Ethereum just because it doesn't make any sense. But our product has been seeing phenomenal adoption on next emerging L1s and also EVM-based chains such as Polygon, such as BSC, such as Avalanche, where gas fees are actually pretty low. And application developers are very much able to and willing to fund the fees. And Ethereum also is going to be happening, but at this current stage, it doesn't make sense.
Got it. So it brings me to Biconomy's own token, Bico. So what's the thinking behind that? And we'll touch a little bit on tokenomics later. But can you just walk us through how do you think of it as part of the strategy of Biconomy, and how are your users going to benefit from it?
Yeah, it might be surprising to you, when Biconomy got started, we as co-founders, we're like, okay, we'll never do a token. We don't have to think about a token. We just build a product. We want to give the best user experience as possible. We want to target developers in most developer-friendly way. And for almost 2 years, we never thought of like doing a token, or 1.5 years. Like, okay, build a product, get traction, get really good customers who love you, and then probably think of what to do next. So we did that. We built a product. We got right customer traction. We got like top-notch applications using us. But everything was happening in a centralized way. Everything was like, we were the one fronting the transactions, we were the one managing all the backend infrastructure. And as we grew bigger, this became one of the areas of discussions, while we were pitching to our customers that, okay, this is what services we provide. It's like, okay, like we kind of running a Web3 company, and like there's a single point of failure. What if like tomorrow, Biconomy shuts down, or like, you don't, want to fund the transactions, like how the UX going to come into play. And that got us into thinking that if we continue to do things in a centralized way, it might not work for a Web3 company, because people don't want to work, or people don't have like a single point of dependency. So this is how we plan to decentralize our infrastructure, where we can have different stakeholders to be a part of the infrastructure. We can kind of create a network of executors who can relay all these transactions, and they can get some fees out of it. So Biconomy token is actually a staking and the work token, where people can be a part of the infrastructure, and whatever the transactions that are happening, they can get some fees out of it. And also we have a wider governance play as well. Like the major network decisions can be like given to community, and they can also become a part of it. So this is how like token actually journey got started, and we did like a token sale a few months ago, and also currently listed on all the major exchanges, including Binance, Coinbase, Huobi, etc.
So that's fascinating, right? So your objective with the token was very specific, which you said that we want to have a community of really infrastructure providers who are on Biconomy, who are running the Biconomy validator nodes. And so that, even if for some reason Biconomy servers were to disappear, the node continues to run, the code continues to run, the dApps which are sitting on top of Biconomy continue to run. So that's actually a very clear objective with which you started. So, and this relates to the tokenomics question, which I have, which is one, how does value accrue to a token? That's one of the questions which we have when we think about tokens. So how does value accrue to token? And then after that, it would be great to get your thoughts on how anyone should be thinking about, like, what are the 2 or 3 questions you have to ask yourself before you launch into tokens?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, and that is something we always think about internally as well. So we have a very clear value proposition. Biconomy of model is, let's say, ignore a decentralized aspect of it. In a centralized way, how we kind of working is we take like a percentage fee of every transactions that we are doing. Now, moving into a decentralization aspect, like we'll be having multiple stakeholders, multiple validators running the transactions and relaying the transactions. So the fee is gonna be like divided for the relayers, like who are kind of doing the transaction, and Biconomy token comes to play. Like it kind of adds a like incentive mechanism for them to actually run and secure the network. So any validator who wants to run a node, they need to stake Biconomy token. So they need to have like certain Biconomy token, as a part of it. And for whatever transaction that we are doing, they get certain fees, and that fees goes to the validators, like who are running the transactions. So the clear value prop is that whatever the fees network is generated, and kind of goes to validators. And validator is something, everyone wants to be a part of it. So people need to buy Biconomy tokens so that they become a part of the network. They have to stake it, and then they kind of get fees out of it. So this is how we kind of, like have thought about the entire token model.
And so if I'm a customer, like I'm a developer creating a dApp, the payment to Biconomy also occurs through the token?
No, so this is where we don't want to get into, like that kind of becomes like more of a security question. We don't want our customers to pay us and buy for tokens. They pay us normally, but they can be a part of the network as well. They can run their own relays. Like that's what we expect them to do. So in order to be part or kind of get a like premium services, we have made it super easy for them to, in fact, run the relays and provide like a better service to the end customers as well. But in terms of the payment aspect, it's the normal SaaS way. That's how we're thinking about it.
Okay, got it. So really the demand for Bico tokens really comes from folks who want to run the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, like be a wider governance play as well, who can, who want to see like what's happening, because of course, crypto is all about community. And this is something we tell to everyone, who start a company, that if you don't have a good community, then probably the project won't succeed, right? It's all about how do you work with the community, how community gets involved within the network. And we have seen with the likes of Polygon, Solana, like what community can do Ethereum, in fact. So governance is a wider plan, something that we are kind of very much looking forward.
So quickly to touch on the community aspects. How did you go about building the community initially? Because that's like priming the pump, so to speak, for community. Isn't that difficult?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and something Initially we struggled because our product is a very technical kind of oriented product where we're kind of targeting only the developers. Had it been like a user facing product, it's kind of easy because people can use the product and they can give you feedback. But we were very clear from day one that our customers are always going to be developers. So we kind of established like a very developer centric community. We were very active in hackathons. So all the hackathons happening across the globe, whether we had money or not money, we were trying to be like part of all of them, talking to developers, getting them part of the community. And initially, like we also offered our services free of cost, so that any developer in the community can use our products and give us feedback. So initially, I'll say like for a year, it was entirely developer focused. But as being a token company, it's very important for us also to think about the retail users who will be actually buying a token or also using the products of our customers. So we also post then like started focusing on the retail community side of things. But having clarity regarding what sort of community you want to build is very important in crypto, because people usually think that having 100K people on Telegram, Discord is like you've made it, but anyone can do it. And it's definitely, it can get toxic, as you scale up.
Got it. So let me actually move off from Biconomy just a little bit up and ask you about the Web3 space in general. So obviously, like it's even a year seems such a long time in Web3, right? And there's so much going to happen this year as well with all the changes in Ethereum and the mergers which are going to happen. So a lot is going to change going forward. So as you look at the state of the union today, what are some of the key friction points in Web3 and the key unsolved problems from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think even right now, as I said earlier as well, crypto has been only like targeting Web3 applications, decentralized applications have been only targeting towards, one of the niches, like crypto savvy users. Like still, I don't think so, like your family members might be using Web3 app. My family member never get that Web3 application. They're like, okay, how to use MetaMask, how to use a Web3 application. They might be using exchanges, but that's pretty much it. That's not Web3. So in terms of making the application more mainstream, still we have a lot of problems. And one of them is the interoperability, how to move assets from one chain to another. Like it takes ages. So I'll tell you, like if you have to move your asset from Ethereum to Polygon, it's gonna take you like 30 minutes. Who's gonna wait for 30 minutes to use an application? So that is like one of the problems that we are trying to solve. I'll say like privacy is another like area of interest people have to work on, because it is important to be very transparent, but it doesn't solve all the problems. So that is another area that also kind of excites me personally. Another is, I think wallet is still a big problem. Like MetaMask is one of the biggest market leader of wallets out there, but still it's not very user friendly. I don't think so anyone gets MetaMask because it's the most secure wallet. It's meant for like people who understand crypto, but people who don't understand crypto, there's still like a very important and a big area where they like new kind of wallets can emerge, where it can be Web3 at the same time, and also it can be more user focused. NFTs is also something very exciting. How brands can actually communicate, or in fact, the creator economy can communicate with the end users. That friction is still there. Like NFTs, like that, solving that. So I'll say last year was sort of a year where a lot of crypto promises were actually into existence. But from this year and the coming few years, this will be like making it scalable, making it like more mainstream. Of course, like last year was like, okay, you have proven yourself to a small set of user base. Now we have to make it to like a larger user base, and that's what like our focus should be always on.
Do you also see a change in the persona of the users themselves between last 18 months and how you see it in 2022?
Yeah, I think persona and behavior of users, investors, media, everything. When we were starting in 18, I'll tell you, no investor wanted to invest in us. No media company wanted to cover like what we're trying to do. In fact, like many companies. And in fact, user base also was fairly limited. It was like, a handful of people using all these applications, and also having like a pessimism inside them that whether it's going to work or not. But in the 3 years, the innovation in DeFi, NFT space, and other things, in crypto ecosystem, has the persona has kind of taken a 180-degree pivot, I'll say, from everyone. Now there's like no shortage of capital in the market. Like all VCs want to be involved in the Web3 ecosystem. media is kind of covering all the blockchain projects, and also like we're seeing like no new users coming up, and people, in fact, like developers who want to be in crypto post college. Back then, no one wanted to work for a crypto company. They're like, okay, it's not sustainable. Whether I probably should join like a normal startup or like normal MNC. Now, developers are actually very much willing to work with a crypto company from the inception. So it has taken like a 180-degree pivot, I'll say, in the last 2 years.
Absolutely. It's been a terrific journey. So let me ask you, what is your, as you look at Web2 startups and Web3 startups, and you look at entrepreneurs today, I mean, a lot of exciting talent in India and folks trying to start companies. How would you look at what's the do's and don'ts of running a Web3 company, which is different than that of a Web2 startup?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I'm seeing like a lot of Web2 players are entering the space as well, and it's very much needed because Web3 founders are very much technical oriented. They're not like very good product managers, but from Web2 space, what I've seen is like people build excellent products and they're like more focused on the masses. But in Web3, like as they enter, the mindset shift needs to change. Is like importance should be given to community a lot, because community needs to be well incentivized to be part of the network, and this is like an area where it works differently in a Web2 ecosystem, because community is a big aspect over there, but incentivization is just something that we focus a lot in Web3, like while building a company. Second is like the openness. All the Web3 founders are very much openly talking about the roadmap, about the network, and about the products with the community on Discord. So I'm very much actively interacting with all the people in the retail side of things, even the developer side of things, and brainstorming ideas. And we have a massive open source kind of a sandbox environment where people can come and play around with the network. That is something doesn't happen that much in a Web2 kind of ecosystem. I'll say like Web3 companies are also more focused on the token aspect and the reward for stakeholders. It's different because in Web2, it's kind of you have like a corporate structure, you have board and stuff. But when you come to Web3, you need to have like a move towards a DAO. You need to have different stakeholders as part of the network, and that is very important for decentralization. So these are like 2-3 main areas, and this is of course the foundation and the fundamentals kind of remain the same. Like a lot of people enter Web3 and they always think about, okay, Web3 is all about token, right? You have to create a token, but that is the last thing you should think of. You should think of what is like Web3 giving you, what is decentralization giving you, what sort of new areas you can unlock, move a switch, make a switch, or make like some part of the company to Web3. So all these are like important areas where every founder need to think like while entering Web3 ecosystem.
I think it's a great answer, Aniket. In one sense, you need to think about all the things which you need to do in Web2. You need to think about product. You need to think about value proposition. You need to think about who your customer is. But some of the things which you don't really think about in the beginning of a company in Web2, you need to actually account for and plan for in Web3. I hear you say you need to think about who the community is, what is the governance model, what is the incentivization model, whether or not you need the token, how the value is going to accrue to the token, how is the distribution going to occur. And all of these things need to sort of get fast forwarded and be thought about right in the beginning, because they are core to the strategy and the product itself. It's not something which you add on as a marketing element on top of your product later.
Yeah, totally. I think just slightly I would add into it is that community becomes part of the product in Web3. That doesn't is not very much necessarily in Web2. As you said, it's more of a marketing element, but the fundamentals kind of remain the same here as well. And token is like one of the way where you can get community more involved and like get them as part of the network. I'll give you an example of Kolchika Mana, where they're like a normal traditional family office running from years. Now they're like one of the problem was that how they can interact with the customers and create that kind of brand awareness with the premium customers. And NFTs kind of solid for them. They launched very premium NFTs. All of course, like they were using Biconomy as well. They got a sense of. I mean, like they could have done it like normal Web2 world way as well, but in this way, like they could get a sense of people who gonna be a part of the brand for a very long time, because people have been like holding the NFTs, and anywhere in the world, can be a part of it. That might have been different in a normal scenario. So I'll say like community is like the key aspect when anyone comes to Web3, and there are like different ways to think about it. Like NFTs can be one where brands can work or get well connected with the fans or the prime users. then having the right sort of incentive mechanisms and involvement mechanism for community, because any community member right now, if who has been active and who has decent stake, can be part of a governance model. It never happens in Web2. He can be like part of value accrual. He can like run validated nodes. He can also get some share of a profit if he works part of the network. So getting community involved is very important in Web3 and something we always think about.
That's a great answer, Aniket. So thank you for your time today. And for our listeners, if they want to know about Biconomy and want to get in touch with you, what's the best Twitter or Discord handles to follow?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I think, mostly active on Twitter and Telegram. So Aniket Jindal, and in fact LinkedIn. So sort of available 24/7. I'm happy to jam more about different ideas and how Web3 or Biconomy can solve problems for you.
Well, thanks again, Aniket, and it is an absolute pleasure talking to you and learning more about Biconomy.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Dear listeners, thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app for free, and you'll be the first one to know when new episodes are available. Just search for Prime Venture Partners podcast in Apple Podcast, Spotify, Castbox, or however you get your podcasts. Then hit subscribe. And if you have enjoyed the show, we would be really grateful if you leave us a review on Apple Podcast. To read the full transcript, find the link in the show notes.